Welcome to the event today. Before beginning the event formally, I would request my colleague Ms. Ananya to play a couple of videos that we've created for the organization and the Move for Earth symposium. Thank you.
The journey begins with each of us. Let's rebuild our only home together. Join Move for Earth Symposium.
With every drop, I'm reminded that our fields are tended not just by my hands, but by the boundless energy of the sun. I'm an eco-champion. I take positive actions for clean air.
I nurture the crops organically, fostering harmony that echoes in every grain that is sown. I embrace the solar skills, illuminating my path to a brighter future.
A pedal for a healthier me and a healthier planet.
As I toil in the fields, sowing millets, I'm at peace with the climate. I know my millets will thrive in heat, drought, and flood. I collect the groundwater data and do crop water budgeting to ensure my village doesn't face water scarcity. I segregate and recycle waste, striving towards a zero-waste city. My startup has developed a device for farmers, paving the way for bountiful harvests.
Where the mind is without fear and the head is held high, where knowledge is free, where the world has not been broken up into fragments by narrow domestic walls, where words come out from the depth of truth, where tireless striving stretches its arms towards perfection, where the clear stream of reason has not lost its way into the dreary desert sand of that habit, where the mind is led forward by thee into ever-widening thought and action, into that heaven of freedom, my Father, let my country awake.
Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guests and participants, a very good evening to each one of you. My name is Ritu Kharayat and I work with SwitchON Foundation. I'm moderating the session today along with my colleague Ms. Ranjita Bhattacharya. In a significant step towards addressing the impending challenges posed by air pollution and climate change on Kolkata's rich cultural heritage, Victoria Memorial Hall, in collaboration with SwitchON Foundation, has come together to discuss Kolkata's cultural heritage, a threat due to air pollution and climate change. The event also marks the opening ceremony of the Move for Earth Symposium, an annual event of the SwitchON Foundation for celebrating the commitment towards climate action. I thank Victoria Memorial Hall for their cooperation and for associating with SwitchON Foundation in organizing this event. Kolkata, despite its rich natural and cultural heritage, faces the challenges of being a non-attainment city. Issues such as air pollution, inadequate waste management, and urban congestion pose significant environmental concerns. Balancing the preservation of cultural heritage with the urgent need for sustainable development remains a complex task for Kolkata. We sincerely hope that today's event bring meaningful and relevant discussions to address contemporary threats to cultural heritage and ensure a resilient and sustainable future for all our cities. I am delighted to share that we have esteemed guests among us today and extend our heartfelt welcome to all of them to join us here today. I would like to welcome our dignitaries to come to the dais and be seated. I would like to invite Dr. Shivaji Bhattacharya, Member Board of Trustees, Victoria Memorial Hall, to please come on the dais. And I would request my colleague Ms. Ananya to please come forward and present a small token of appreciation as a gesture of gratitude. Mr. Shivaji Bhattacharya. Dr. Shivaji Bhattacharya is a renowned scientist who has been instrumental in preserving cultural heritage of Kolkata. Dr. Bhattacharya, your dedication to our city's heritage is truly commendable. And we are eager to hear your thoughts on the intersection of Kolkata's richness with the challenges posed by air pollution and climate change. Thank you. Now I would like to invite Ms. Barbara Voss, Consul General, the Consulate General of the Federal Republic of Germany, to come to the dais. I would request Ms. Ranjita Bhattacharya, Senior Program Manager, SwitchON Foundation, to please present a small token of appreciation as a gesture of gratitude. Ms. Barbara Voss is recognized for her impactful leadership in the German Foreign Service, renowned for fostering global collaborations in trade, technology, and cultural exchange. She proudly showcases Germany's rich heritage. Committed to economic initiatives, Barbara actively promotes partnerships and trade agreements for mutual benefit. Her advocacy for sustainable development reflects a dedication to integrating environmental and social considerations into diplomatic efforts. Engaging with diverse communities through public lectures, Barbara embodies the values of collaboration and understanding communities in depth. Holding relevant degrees, she demonstrates a tireless commitment to diplomacy, enhancing the relationship between Germany and the host country. Thank you for coming. I would now like to invite Mr. Vinay Jaju, Managing Director, SwitchON Foundation, to join the guests on the stage. And I would request Ms. Gargi Mehta, Media and Partnership Manager, SwitchON Foundation, to present a small token of appreciation. Mr. Vinay Jaju, SwitchON Foundation's MD and co-founder of Onergy and OnSkills, showcases a robust history driving sustainable initiatives. With roles at GE Australia and Grameen Shakti Bangladesh, he offers a diverse skill set. Recognized in academia and industry, Mr. Jaju serves on esteemed panels like ISEP Expert Group at Johns Hopkins University and the LVDC panel at Bureau of India Standards. Thank you so much. I would now request to invite Dr. Shivaji Bhattacharya to kindly give his welcome address.
Namaskar, good afternoon. I, on behalf of Victoria Memorial Hall, welcome all the eminent persons, dignitaries and speakers of this program on the dais who came here to devote and share their valuable times to disseminate their knowledge, experience and good thoughts in this event that is Move for Earth Symposium with an aim coming together to inspire a sustainable tomorrow, followed by a valuable panel discussion on the topic Kolkata's cultural heritage, a threat due to air pollution and climate change, organized by our organization, that is Victoria Memorial Hall, in collaboration with SwitchON Foundation. Welcome to all. I especially welcome Ms. Ritu Kharaya, Senior Program Manager, SwitchON Foundation, who has already delivered today's introduction. Mr. Binay Jaju, Managing Director, SwitchON Foundation, who will enlighten us about today's Move for Earth Symposium. Welcome, sir. I welcome Ms. Barbara Voss, Consul General, the Consulate General of the Federal Republic of Germany, who will give the keynote address of this program. Welcome, ma'am. We know, according to policy document on climate action for World Heritage 2023 of UNESCO, that is, climate change has become one of the most significant threats to World Heritage properties, potentially impacting their outstanding universal values, including their integrity and authenticity, and their potential for economic and social development at the local level. As well as air pollution are not only harming human health and the environment, but are also degrading surfaces of historical buildings and monuments. Corrosion and soiling of cultural heritage sites as a result of air pollution can lead to severe economic losses as a result of high maintenance and restoration costs. In this scenario, we know this symposium will be followed by a valuable panel discussion on a very important contemporary but inevitable topic, that is Kolkata's cultural heritage, a threat due to air pollution and climate change. On this event, I convey our sincere thanks and welcome to all the eminent panelists, Mr. G.M. Kapoor, welcome, sir, Chairperson, the Heritage Committee, the Bengal Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and State Convener, Indian National Trust for Art and Cultural Heritage. I welcome Ms. Karuna Singh, Namaskar. She is Regional Director, Asia Earth Day Network. I welcome Ms. Monica Khosla Bhargava. Namaskar. Welcome. She is founder, KHM Consultant, and Mr. Debanjan Chakraborty. Namaskar. He is Director, British Council, East and Northeast India, and a moderator of today's panel discussion. And Ms. Ranjita Bhattacharya, Senior Programmer Manager, SwitchON Foundation, who will give the vote of thanks at the last of the event. I also welcome her. And again, I welcome all of you today who came here to participate in this event. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bhattacharya, for highlighting the crisis that we are in today's world due to climate change. And thank you for acknowledging and inviting all the guests and dignitaries today. I would now request Mr. Binay Jaju to please give a brief about the Move for Earth Symposium and setting the context.
Very good afternoon. It's a real honor. It's a full house. Thank you all so much for coming. And I'm absolutely honored to be part of this august audience of educators, social sector leaders, and policy influencers. So thank you so much for coming. I'd like to go back in 2008 when we started SwitchON Foundation, where I remember I had a lot more hair, of course, and going from school to school, college to college, and talking about how, joking with children that how many of you know how to swim, because if you don't, then you need to, because Kolkata would be underwater with the way climate, what's happening with climate change. And back in 2008, really there was not much conversations about climate change in Kolkata, let alone Kolkata, even in India, not that much. And here we are. I mean, all of this that we see around us is actually just playing out right in front of our eyes. We talked about the challenges and the cyclones, and how the severity of these cyclones that we will face. And we had Amphan just a couple of years back, it's just, this is going to be the new normal, and we all know, and we're seeing it right, like I said, right in front of our eyes. What is also very, very frightening is that Kolkata is one of the most vulnerable cities worldwide, and a city that is home to so many people. It's such a beautiful city with such a strong heritage, such a beautiful culture that we all celebrate every day of our lives. That's really at threat, both because of climate change and air pollution. Our research team did a quick research month back, which had some startling facts. We've always thought of, I stay very close to Victoria Memorial. I'm very lucky for that. We all are very, very, we feel that the Maidan, Victoria Memorial, this beautiful area, air pollution wouldn't really be a problem. It's a problem of Delhi. I mean, that's what I would hear until a few years back. But you would not believe, but this area is now one of the most, and is the most polluted. The CPCB data says that, the Central Pollution Control Board data says, the air around Victoria Memorial, the monitor that is installed somewhere in this area, is the most polluted in the city. It's 70% more polluted than what it was last year. The average data from November, December, and that took me by surprise, absolutely by surprise. And this is something I started to read about a few years back, about the air pollution and the severity it has. I was absolutely taken aback when I read that air pollution kills more people than AIDS, 3 times more people than AIDS, tuberculosis, and malaria put together. That sort of got us a few colleagues to start what we know as Bengal Clean Air Network now. Back in the day, we had a Kolkata chapter. I have my colleague here, some of my colleagues here who started this. And I can hear this from all my nieces and nephews and my friends' children, that how air pollution is, how and we have some doctors here, of course, and they'll be able to talk more about that, but how air pollution is creating such a big problem in their lives on a day-to-day basis. But 2008, when we started talking about this issue in Kolkata, going from school to school, college to college, we were not the only ones talking about this and the problem with heritage. I'm told that the World Heritage Committee into the 29th session acknowledged this as early as 2006, I believe, that climate change is the biggest threat already to the natural and the cultural heritage all across the world. We know that the Esplanade Terminus, very close to Victoria Memorial, was made to move because of this problem of air pollution. It's already the most polluted air in the city as we speak. What we've started to do since the last 16 years that SwitchON Foundation has came to be, we've gone out through the Bengal Clean Air Network. Many of you are associated. I'm extremely glad, and it's a real honor for me to be able to work with many of you here in this room, and would love to work with all of you here. What we've been able to do is go and identify, and I mean, if we talk about the city of Kolkata and the heritage, if I were to go around in the city of Kolkata before the people and before the buildings and the beautiful landscape Kolkata has to offer, what comes to my eyes is actually just cars and waste. The amount of, luckily, the waste that is burnt has really, really reduced because of the High Court orders. But the amount of waste that is generated in the city and the amount of cars that is there in the city is frightening, is absolutely frightening. The crossing that I live on is the DL Khan Road crossing, very close by to the DL Khan Road crossing. And it is just frightening to just think about crossing those roads because of the amount of cars that are there. So what is the city? I mean, are the cities really for the cars or it's for the people? It's a question we really, really need to ask ourselves. What happened to... We were very proud of the fact that we had a lot of public transport and all kinds of public transport in the city. But it's the people, we ourselves are making the decision to have private cars create all of this waste, which clearly the city is not able to manage and can't manage. What is the city that we're leaving behind, and what about the heritage of the city? What about the livelihoods that are getting impacted, the health of children that are getting impacted because everything that we see around us? But I mean, with all of these also comes an opportunity where we can do something about it, and that's what over the last 15 years at SwitchON Foundation we have set a task to. Through the Bengal Clean Air Network and through the Energy, Water, Agriculture program, we work in schools, colleges, work in wards, look to see how we can create clean air zones, how we can work on sustainable transport, work on areas and issues around waste management, and support green startups, some budding, very exciting startups in Kolkata addressing all of these problems. And of course, connect them to our rural hinterland and see how that interaction can create more lively opportunities. I would love to invite you for some of the programs that we're doing at the Science City in the next 2 days. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Vinada, for sharing some of the very, very important and pertinent data that we were able to generate as a result of our research studies and a lot of reports developed, and which I think as citizens we should be concerned about, and how actually it is impacting not only the quality of the air, but also, how it is linked to our daily livelihoods, and also the quality of water, and also the kind of impact that it has on our agricultural sustainable practices. So thanks a lot for this. Now I would invite Ms. Barbara Voss to deliver the keynote address.
Yeah, thank you very much. Namaskar, everybody. Okay, then once again, namaskar. And thank you for the invitation. And thank you very much to you. I mean, after setting the scene, Vinay, I mean, for everybody, it's very obvious that we have to do something. So I suggested already to switch off the AC, because we're talking about climate change and we would like to save energy. But that is unheard. Okay, so thank you very much, everybody. I'm really delighted being here, and thank you very much, Victoria Memorial Hall, and of course SwitchON Foundation for organizing this event, and as well for everything that you're doing or did already in the last 15 years and continue to do so. So we are partnered with you already for different projects and looking forward to doing so in the future. And today's topic is, of course, as well high on our agenda. Germany is committed to fighting climate change and contributing to a sustainable future. I think it's clear for everybody. I mean, we only have one world, so we really have to do something against everything that's going on. And here, of course, in Kolkata, we can really tell what the effects of climate change are. So German and Indian ties embody a legacy of collaboration, progress, and mutual respect. And in this context, we applaud, of course, India to its great growth and its new role in the world after the G20 presidency, which was really amazing. And but as well, this kind of growth, of course, comes with a responsibility not only for the future generations, but as well for the environment. I mean, an unbridled and unsustainable growth would endanger the basis of life for all of us. And you mentioned it already, and one of the biggest concerns of our current times is limiting the global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius. And all industries have to participate in tackling this goal, and everybody, all of us, have to do so. And we have to find ways for not being dependent on fossil fuel for transportation as well as power generation anymore. I always say that we have an EV as our official car at the Consulate General, but I mean, let's be honest, I mean, if the electricity generated for it comes from coal plants, I mean, then we are far away from a net zero or carbon-free world. I mean, this goes for all of us. I mean, we all face the same challenges. It's difficult as well for Germany and for a lot of other European and Western countries to match their goals. But I think as well, especially with last year's UN COP28 in Dubai, it was really, I mean, at least we all thought it was a breakthrough because it really ringed in the end of the fossil fuel area. I mean, all countries in the world committed to tripling renewables by 2030, which is actually around the corner. And doubling energy efficiency. I mean, as I said, it's a huge challenge for all of us, but as well like a necessary one that we have to take up in order to secure a livable future for us and as well as generations to come. I mean, we shouldn't forget that. And we see here in India a promising step is green hydrogen. I mean, we are very much interested in it, and there is a lot of potential that we see as well here in India. And in general, in Germany, we have quite an expertise when it comes to renewable energy technologies. And we see a lot of technology transfer as well from German companies to Indian ones, and very interesting products coming out of it. We just launched a multi-utility e-scooter like 2 days ago. And that's a cooperation as well between a German company and an Indian one. So we see as well like quite a lot of ambitious goals here in West Bengal and as well in India when it comes to renewables and as well to combat climate change. And we are happy or eager to explore opportunities how we can contribute to supporting India in reaching these goals. And as I said already, we have to think about future generations, and it's naive to believe that the problems resulting from unsustainable economic activity and living only concern the future and younger generations, because some people do as well in the western part of Germany. But in fact, the consequences of it are already threatening all of us. I mean, you mentioned the situation here in Kolkata, and this is really demonstrated on a daily basis. I mean, I'm only here like 6 months, so you know that, of course, much better than I do. But I mean, the pollution is really something. I really underestimated that. I can imagine that it is much more than it was before. But it's definitely something that has to be turned back. I mean, it can't, even become more all the time. And I mean, there are so many people getting really sick. Doctors recommend to wear masks. And the other day there was in the Times of India a headline that breathing in polluted air here in Kolkata is equivalent to smoking 22 cigarettes a day. I mean, that's something, isn't it? And when you relate this, then you can really tell, I mean, how hazardous to our health, to all of our health it is, and as well to the younger ones, to the children. But I mean, it's not only the air pollution, it's as well the climate change and heat waves, and it's impossible really, or really hard to work inside without air conditioning, but as well, let alone, I mean, working outside. You know, we can see that as well in our consulate, like with our gardeners and other staff who have to work outside. I mean, it's nearly impossible in some of the summer months still coming. So, and you can see that as well, like from typhoons, hurricanes, I don't know, wildfires, everything. You can see that everywhere in the world. And another health hazard is as well, like noise pollution. I mean, that's something that we shouldn't forget, especially here with the constant chorus of horns. I mean, this is also really a burden for everybody. And yeah, like coming to the second topic, like cultural heritage, sustainability and climate compatibility is not only needed in the field of environment, of course, but also when it comes to cultural heritage. And we need to preserve our cultural heritage for future generations in order to keep the history and the cultures alive in times of immense shifts and challenges that we are all facing. And stopping this decline requires, of course, committed individuals, like all of you are, and organizations, but as well well-curated cultural preservation projects. I mean, we all can see that, I think, here in Kolkata, that it's sometimes really maybe a lack of funds, but maybe as well lack of interest from parts of some state or local authorities. Because, I mean, a city like this with such a vast and beautiful and interesting cultural heritage, you have to invest, of course, money, but you have to know how important it is to conserve it. And here I think there's still some space for improvement, let's put it like that. And maybe I can just tell you a little bit about the cultural preservation program of the Federal Foreign Office. And that aims to lead to cultural sustainability, protect and nurture cultural diversity, and raise people's awareness on their own cultural identity. And that's a cherished instrument of our German cultural relations and education policy worldwide. And our Consulate General has taken up some projects, and maybe I can just like tell you a little bit about two of them. So one was about the beautiful, exquisite, traditional shola craft of West Bengal. So I'm really always amazed to see what you can make out of shola. So we work together with a non-profit organization to well, as well, transmit the skills, you know, so that it's not forgotten, that there are still people who know how to do it and will continue doing so. And as well, of course, to document it and as well innovate it. And we have like shola roses at the consulate that we use as sustainable giveaways. I mean, they are really beautiful. And we also have like a Christmas tree and Christmas decorations out of shola. You know, there are so many things you can think of when it comes to shola. So it's really impressive. And Bengal is also home to many living traditions, including music and many folks performing art forms. And only last year we started a project, cultural preservation project with Kolkata-based non-profit organization to document and digitalize a number of intangible traditional folk performing art forms and the cultural heritage of West Bengal. And we're planning to launch a digital museum about it by mid-April, so that it's really accessible for everybody, and not only researchers, but as well music directors, composers, young generations, all of us, everybody can really enjoy it and get to know more about it and appreciate the cultural roots. Okay, let me just see what I would like to tell you as well. We have, with all our actions that we are taking and the environmental pollution and everything, I mean, we can really see in many places of the city how it affects like the old buildings. And that's, of course, like an immovable cultural heritage and a very important part of the history of this part of India. We see it that it's very important to protect it, and as well like for the livelihoods and for the future generations. And I'm confident that our partnerships will further thrive and shared by our or fueled, let's say, by our shared commitment for sustainability and development, innovation, and as well gender equality. And I'm really glad that the panelists are not only men, because usually I'm quite often surrounded by men, and I'm the only female on the panel. So I'm really glad to see you here, and I'm looking very much forward to the panel discussion and to learn much more about everything from the experts. So thank you very much, and Donnerbart.
Thank you very much, Barbara, for this highlighting some of the key, collaborations that have taken place between Germany and India. Very, very important COP28 experience that you've had, and also the day-to-day impact that air pollution has in our lives. Also, the preservation, cultural preservation projects that you're running are fantastic, and I think some organizations are actually, paying effort and dedicated effort towards these. So we're very happy, like the digital museum that you talked about, and also the the cultural heritage project. So thank you very much for that. So we would now like to proceed with the panel discussion, for which I would request the dignitaries on the stage to kindly take their seats so that we can make way for the panel discussion on the stage. Yeah, sure, definitely. You can please join. So you're already making your way to the dais. I'll just introduce, no problem. So the topic for today's panel discussion is Kolkata's cultural heritage, threat due to air pollution and climate change. Climatic disasters are not only destroying the balance of the natural ecosystem, but also negatively impacting human life and significantly impending progress towards sustainable development, as we all discussed in the earlier, the notes and the addresses. Sea levels may rise by about 1 meter by 2100 if carbon emissions continue unchecked, according to a recent survey of the experts, and the effects on coastal cities would be devastating. In 30 years, Kolkata could be the worst hitting among Indian coastal cities as sea levels rise due to global warming. To share insights on this topic, I would like to call our panelists on the stage. I would like to welcome Mr. G.M. Kapoor, Chairperson, the Heritage Committee, BCCNI, and INTAC. Mr. Kapoor, a seasoned Kolkata resident with a distinguished career in engineering, management, and banking, has become a leading advocate for heritage conservation, currently serving as a chairperson of the Heritage Committee at the BCCNI and INTAC. His impactful journey began with witnessing Kolkata's decay. He founded the INTAC Conservation Institute, contributing significantly to heritage preservation in Kolkata. Mr. Kapoor actively fosters a symbiotic relationship between heritage and tourism, serving on government panels and industry association. Thank you, Mr. Kapoor, for joining us today. I would now like to welcome Mrs. Karuna Singh, Regional Director, Asia Earth Day Network. Thank you. Ms. Karuna Singh is a dedicated environmentalist, shaping impactful programs across 25 countries and engaging with around 5 billion people in Asia. Inspired by the ideals of earthday.org, she leads a dynamic team collaborating with over 50,000 organizations globally. She's an author of EDN's ebooks featuring innovative case studies for greener economies and actively contributing to steering committees for global environmental initiatives. Regularly featured in various media, Karuna excels in forming partnerships, developing tailored programs, and advocating for sustainable practices on a regional scale. Thank you for joining us today. I would now like to welcome Ms. Monica Khosla Bhargav, founder Calm Consultants. Please take your seat on the dais, ma'am. Monica Khosla Bhargav, an esteemed architecture graduate and urban design leader, has steered Calm Consultants since 1992, earning national and international acclaim. Her projects embody a global perspective shaped by a CEDA fellowship and studies in Sweden, emphasizing a deep commitment to spatial, cultural, and environmental ideals. She is also renowned as a dynamic speaker and a respected visiting faculty. As the secretary of the Institute of Urban Designers in India, Kolkata chapter, Monica continues to make invaluable contributions to the environmental services field, leaving an enduring impact on sustainable urban designs and architecture. Welcome. I would now like to welcome our moderator for the panel, Mr. Debanjan Chakraborty, Director E&NE India, British Council. Dr. Debanjan Chakraborty, Director of the British Council for East and Northeast India, brings over 22 years of experience in education, development, and cultural programs. As the area director, he strategically expands the British Council's impact, focusing on B2G and B2B partnerships, change management, and staff engagement. A triple gold medalist in India and a PhD holder from the University of Reading, his diverse career includes impactful leadership roles at the British Council, leading initiatives such as the DFID funded Bihar Language Initiative, and securing funding for Cambridge University's Multilila research. Now I would invite Mr. Debanjan Chakraborty to kindly take the proceedings of the panel discussion further. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for that generous introduction for all my fellow panelists and for me. And first up, I would like to thank SwitchON Foundation, Vinay and his team, Victoria Memorial Hall, and Sir, you and your team for organizing this program, providing this fantastic, appropriate, and timely sort of backdrop to this discussion. I wanted to make that point, but Barbara has already made it, and therefore I would just reinforce it that tomorrow is International Women's Day, and I'm particularly delighted that this is not a manel or anywhere close to it, and I have two brilliant women panelists with me, and the keynote address was by the senior most woman diplomat in the city. So Barbara, thank you for that as well. I think the topic is really interesting and loaded. Kolkata's cultural heritage and the threat to cultural heritage due to air pollution and climate change. I mentioned Victoria Memorial's appropriacy as a venue. This is particularly important because Victoria Memorial serves, I think, almost as a lightning rod for the topic at hand. I mean, for decades, those of us who have been living in Kolkata, call it home. Those of us who have been working in the cultural domain have been subject to many discussions, newspaper, media coverage of the impact of air pollution on Victoria. There have been lots of public discourse around it. And Victoria Memorial Hall also in its programming tries to address it. We were partners last year for a fantastic program called Young Minds for a Compassionate World, where Victoria Memorial partnered Natural History Museum in London to create a photography exhibition which was at heart an education project for young students to look at nature photography in a very everyday context of their backyard and in the city, around their homes. And this really had a great impact in terms of awareness, certainly. And we keep talking about climate change and air pollution, and Barbara, you're absolutely right that it affects all of us here in the city. And I have actually stopped traveling to Delhi between November and February if I can help it. Sometimes I can't help it, I have to go, but as an asthmatic, I really struggle. And there are some examples in the world where, if not, air quality hasn't been restored to a pristine WHO standards, but London is one great example. In 1952, there were instances of notorious pea super fogs that would descend on London. Visibility was reduced to less than a meter. And there were enormous number of public public hue and cry, largely driven by the health crisis that occurred. And since then, London has taken a number of steps to push it back. The air quality is much, much better now. And what really drives is data. And that is, I think, something that we will hope to touch upon in terms of our discussion. There was a fantastic film that was shown, and I saw cycling. And in COP26, which was held in Glasgow in 2023, COP26 was held in 2022. So, and that was the time when, in a very humble way, I tried to start cycling to work. On days it was possible. And it's a catch-22 situation, because it's very difficult to cycle in Kolkata because of the air pollution. So, yeah. Traffic, yes, I mean, traffic is there in every major city. I think you can negotiate that, you can take some precautions. But air pollution you can't escape. So, anyway, but let me just start with, and G20 was mentioned, and this particular topic resonates with the four priorities of the culture track of G20 in very complex ways. So, Monica, if I may start with you first, what are the major contributors that changes the urban landscape of Kolkata and its microclimate?
Yeah, that's an interesting question to start with. We are in an urban topography, and thank you so much for all of you for having me here. So what I'd like to touch upon is, let's look at our city. What's been happening for the last few decades? What are we seeing? We are seeing that the city is developing towards the east. Whether it has been Salt Lake, Rajarhat, Newtown, the movement is over there. And that's also a part of the city which is ecologically sensitive, which was a greenfield area and which we are converting. It's also an area, if we look at, which the young people prefer to work, reside, and entertain themselves. So whenever we look at trends, we also have to see what the young people are looking at, because that's the future. So what's the disturbing thing is that the part that we call the cultural heritage of the city, which is the existing Kolkata city, is the part which is decaying, the part where the young people aren't wanting to come in, where the young people don't have opportunities. And this is the part which needs work on it. So there's also a reason for this mismatch. The reason is that in Kolkata, while I think we were informally discussing, there were so many policies. But unfortunately, in Kolkata, we are missing a master plan. If we don't have a master plan on how this part of the city is to be, does it match with its infrastructure? How does it match with its environmental plan? And how does it match with its expansion ideas? We can't achieve a solution towards the way the city will grow. And also a solution towards which the city is, the sufferings that it's going through. I'd like to sort of touch upon a few points. You please stop me whenever I'm overshooting the time. I'd like to touch upon some of the things which Vinay said. about swimming. Now, that's a very interesting fact because there are two important components in the urban scenario which are related to the climate. One is land. Land is an essential resource for building, for urban development, for urban expansion. But land is also treated not as a resource, but as a commodity. As long as land remains a commodity, which has an economic value, it's very difficult for us to get laws related to heritage or environment implemented easily. So that's something very deep which we have to think of. The second thing is water. Water is a resource and is not a commodity. It's very easy for us to do away with wetlands, do away with ponds, do away with water in every way. It's also very easy for us to spoil this important resource, but it's an important thing that without both these essential elements, and of course air, we cannot live. So these are some of the important things that we must keep in mind before we progress on creating our master plan.
Thanks so much, and we will come to the solution side of this in a moment. If I may turn to you, Karuna, how climate change affects tangible heritage has, how do you think, that has been addressed in Kolkata?
I'm happy to say that tangible heritage has been addressed. We've heard that Victoria Memorial area is the most polluted, but steps have been taken. In 2007, there was a landmark judgment that was passed by the Calcutta High Court, which moved the Kolkata Book Fair away from the Maidan because of it polluting monuments like the Victoria Memorial. There also has been regulations passed that there should be no open fires around this area, which to a certain degree have not been implemented as well as they should be. But I'm glad to say that awareness is there. We are over the first threshold and things are being done. And there are organizations like Honorgy that is leading marches that I congratulate them for what they do, and there are people like Intac, organizations like Intac, which are bringing out the cultural heritage and making you aware of the fact that this is a resource, a treasure that you have to maintain. So thank you to the people of Calcutta for doing so. I will talk later of some things which are not done, but let me just say that this is a positive. We shouldn't always think of the negative. We should think of the positive as well.
Thank you. Thank you, Karuna, for that. And I think we will turn to some of the other aspects of this particular topic. GM, last but not the least, men are also important for this equilibrium. What are the key concerns and significant threats that Kolkata's rich cultural heritage faces due to air pollution and to climate change? And just a general question, a broader question for all of you. Climate change and air pollution are often spoken of in single breath. Are they one and the same thing? But the first question first, and then we'll...
Okay. In this city, and I think most cities, the priority given to heritage conservation, protection, restoration is probably very low. If you look at CSR funding for this particular area, most organizations will put it low down on the list, whereas the government has very clearly offered the incentives, offered tax breaks, everything for funding such activities. But I'm not saying there's anything wrong in the priorities which this corporates give, because after all, healthcare and education housing, etc., also equally important. But one lament which I have is that heritage conservation is given very, very low priority. Even the government today, I mean, I think SwitchON Foundation is doing so much for trying to support the tramways movement. I mean, if any organization or any government was interested in reducing air pollution, probably they would have looked for alternatives. And the tramways is very clearly an alternative, which is being brought back in cities all over the world. So my only lament, as I said, was that it doesn't seem to get the importance that is due to it. And also, you know, for the last, I think almost more than a year, we've been trying to organize a seminar on heritage in times of disaster, you know, which is something which we must take care of. Tomorrow, I mean, we are all talking about possible disasters that can happen, Amphan, this, the other. So any disaster can happen, flooding can take place. Are we prepared? I don't think we are prepared. For instance, I mean, I don't know whether the disaster management plan for, say, the Indian Museum or for the Victoria Memorial is in place. So that is something which I feel is should be given some kind of importance.
Thank you. A number of very interesting points there. But just that previous idea that, you know, could, as experts, would you like to demystify the link between climate change and air pollution? Yeah.
So let me just say that climate change is the broader topic. Air pollution is one of the contributors to it, just as global warming is a contributor to it. So these are all components that will make the whole, and we have to address each one of them. As the UN Secretary General said, we are in an era of global warming. Earth is doing that. And I feel that we are all in it together. Let us not dig our heads in the sand and think that, oh, I'm not going to get affected. So I call upon everyone to do their bit. Don't depend on governments to do it or the municipality to do it. Each one of us has to do something. And whatever happens anywhere in the world, we are going to benefit. So thank you, Barbara, for what you said Germany does, because in the end, we will benefit from it as well. Would you like to?
Would you like to add to that? Or could I come back to a specific question for you? Monica, I mean, you mentioned the Calcutta Master Plan. I mean, could you tell us one urban planning strategy or change that you think can be a game changer for the particular threat that we are facing?
Well, nothing can replace a master plan. That's for sure. That's something we need. It goes without saying. We need a master plan which should encompass heritage, environmental engineering, planning, and everything in it, and our development. But as a short-term thing, what if I would look at a policy, let's say, like a mindset, I think that one of the things that we need to seriously look at is encroachment. And I know it's a sensitive topic to talk about for almost everybody, but what happens is that any amount of policies or laws that you create, for whether it be for food, whether it be for residents, for any kind of infrastructure, they're all for the organized sector. And they all bypass the unorganized sector. And in our cities, the encroachment is so high that we cannot lift pollution levels or remove criteria or address the solution to these problems if we don't address this problem of encroachment.
Just to be with you on that particular point, encroachment, some might argue, is an aesthetic problem rather than an environmental problem. Why do you think it's an environmental problem?
I remember studying. Okay, I remember studying Dalhousie Square and the food, the informal foods there. I used to study it, say, let's say from 4 a.m. in the morning. The dishes used to be washed in the drains. There is no water supply. There is no way of hygiene. There is no methodology provided to the food vendors, and a huge food market runs. I thoroughly study the Hooghly area. I see people living under bridges who work in Bada Bazaar area. They come to the river for bathing, for all kinds of activities. And I think just a few days in the newspaper, it was that the whole Hooghly River has the highest fecal coliform. So it's unbathable. And isn't that a civic failure? Are we to provide this kind of life to our citizens? It's something that we need to look at, and this is all happening because of encroachment. We need to provide shelters. We need to provide people a good way for people to live. And then we need to address these areas. Also, public infrastructure is not meant for encroachment. I also did a specific study of encroachment with my students from IIM, and that was at, near where this, behind Taj Bengal, this area where the open air theater has come up. So this lady told me, how do we encroach government areas? She said, first, 1 or 2 of us, women, we come with children, we settle down. We create a temple. After that, we bring a few more, and then we create a colony. So the thing is, we were specifically studying this aspect, that why is it that such important and vulnerable land gets encroached, and after that, there's no way back. So that was one of my...
I have a point here. While in the old city, as we do it, this is what she has talked about. Unfortunately, even in Newtown and Salt Lake and the bypass, which are all new constructions, they are all being encroached upon. We have, this is something which I have discussed with our minister, and I had told him that time itself that why don't you plan for these hawkers, so to say, or these shanties? Why don't you plan some, you're talking about aesthetics? If you plan it, that aesthetics can be taken care of. And you decide the beneficiaries, and as it is, they are occupying them illegally. So make it legal. You know, you can have, today again you see the same thing happening in Newtown, Rajarhat. At least till recently, Mr. Debashish Sen was a strong man. He kept these people at bay. But Sector 5, for that matter, all the pavements have got hawkers. And this is not that this was not foreseen. Couldn't they decide that, okay, give them a little bit of space and let them come legally and be there?
I think that's a very fair point. A great point. I think there are, again, cities from which I think we could learn a few lessons. I think closer home, Singapore is a good example to look at. Yes, please.
So we're talking about present day encroachment here. Let's be prepared. What's happening in the Sundarbans? So many islands are sinking. Where are those people going to go? They're going to come and look for employment in Calcutta. So be prepared for more encroachment.
I think that brings me to the next question, Karuna, which is how do you think intangible heritage and culture, I mean, that is also being affected by these kind of crises, and they are all related. I mean, it's almost like a domino effect, and it also impacts livelihoods. I mean, displacement, etc. I mean, we don't often talk about intangible heritage and culture in the context of climate change and air pollution. Would you like to just shine some light on it?
So UNESCO says that cultural heritage does not end at monuments and a collection of objects. It also includes traditions or living expressions inherited from our ancestors and passed on to our descendants. And intangible heritage is really with communities. Now, what will happen when you have to leave your lands and come away? This intangible heritage will get diluted. It'll get diluted and unfortunately lost in many cases. We have seen that around us. I was talking to somebody with Bangla Natak, and she was telling me that Karunadi, you go to the Sundarbans and see, we cannot get the folk tradition singers and dancers that we could get earlier because they have moved to even places like Kerala looking for employment. So intangible heritage will suffer unless we can guarantee them livelihood over there. Intangible heritage will suffer with climate change because the resource materials they need will not be available as close as at hand as needed. But we can do things to help them stay in their lands. For example, with Earth Day Network, with which I work, we encourage and award women's groups that use traditional means to earn livelihoods and which are environmentally friendly. One from close by in West Bengal is we use the sal patta plates. Now, if we encourage them to sell them, to help them market them, they will earn and we won't have the problem of thermocol, or we'll have lesser of a problem of thermocol. So we have to make sure that livelihoods are safeguarded. Unless you can earn from this intangible heritage, people will just not keep it up. So it's a big problem.
And would you like to add to
I just want to add something, sorry.
A comment.
Yeah, basically that while this is certainly an important issue, but the new generation, because of maybe social media and TV and all these attractions, for them life in the rural areas is not particularly exciting. That is another factor because of which they want to move away from the traditional arts and crafts which their fathers and grandfathers or mothers and grandmothers were involved in. That is a problem we have faced many times in an organization with which I am associated. We are unable to get that material because nobody in the village is currently making it. And they're not prepared to make it.
Monica, yeah.
So, GM, it's not just about social media. Nobody wants to stay in the village. I have a house in the village. Regularly, I interact with the farmers. They tell us, you buy our farm. We don't want to keep it. We'll use the money to marry our daughters. Our sons are busy in the club. They don't want to do farming. And the problem is that there is no money in farming. If there was a lot of economic activity, we would not have people moving away from these areas. They have to move to a city to be able to sustain themselves economically. That this economic structure is something real. Second thing is, we don't have infrastructure in the villages. We don't have good hospitals in the villages. We regularly have to get people from there to get them admitted to some place in Kolkata. We don't have good schools in the villages. So what happens is that if that place had a great quality of, had great infrastructure for you to live, great education, great entertainment, and great health facilities, anyone would prefer to stay over there away from this pollution and all. But even people who work online and all, they are not able to stay there because of the lack of infrastructure. And there's one more point which GM mentioned earlier about, about Amphan and such threats, and how we are unprepared for it. We are totally unprepared for urbanism and its long-term impact. Venice is a study that I've been doing for years. And the city of Venice is surely sinking. Everyone knows that fact. The city of New York, and it's sinking under the load of the buildings, of the urban infrastructure. New York is sinking 1 centimeter every year. And that's also sinking because of the load of the buildings, of those multi-storied buildings that we are building over there. The Sundarbans, we were part of the Sundarbans, Kolkata. Till 1930s, GM, huh? See, they were like very much part of our map also. And before that, we were the Sundarbans. We've already lost. We are in a very sensitive ecological plane. We are a built-up city. Are we considering all this when we are going in for our development? There's some very serious things which we have to think on a very holistic manner together. And we're all doing a lot of work individually. We need to come together for it.
No, that's a very, very powerful point, Monica, and thank you to the audience for making that. And GM earlier mentioned that, you know, there are competing claims on the limited resources we have in a country that's still kind of on a, India has done much, much better in development indicators in the last couple of decades, but we are still some way to go. We still got, you know, about 60 crore people who are not in the kind of middle class affluent zone. So, and these are interrelated issues, but this question of livelihood and its link to culture and heritage, I think what was really interesting and somewhat heartening for me to note I was part of the G20 culture track discussions last year, and this is one of the 4 priorities. So sustainable livelihoods and its impact on culture is priority number 2 of the 4. And then it links to the cultural industries and creative economy, which sits at the heart of the priorities of G20. And that is something that Ministry of Culture, in particular, Government of India in general, is very keen to pursue as one of the key legacies of India's presidency of G20. So we have some hope there. Again, going back to, you know, I thought I'll just put a question on the importance of education in tackling or providing some of the solutions to this particular threat of climate change on heritage. So GM, if I may start this round of question with you. I mean, you are one of the kind of movers and shakers in INTAC, and you and I are on the Bengal Chamber of Commerce's Heritage Committee, I mean, the one you chair. So what do you think is the role of education and institutions such as Chambers of Commerce's, INTAC, Victoria Memorial, in providing solutions to the problem?
It's a very important role which these institutions can play. All of them are big influencers in this city. If you talk about chambers of commerce, then in the field of economics, they, I think, would be influencing all the major financial giants of the city. If they don't understand that it is important to take care of the environment and the pollution, then nobody can take any steps towards it. These are the people who are the decision makers for everything. Chambers of commerce are influencers towards the government policies. You know Bengal Chamber. Bengal Chamber was the place where all the government policy, of course, that was in a different era. Yes, yes. So that way, all these people can play a very important role. But I said it has to be importantly, you know, they must feel that it is a priority. Money making is not the only thing. the priority towards this climate change and air pollution is equally important. I think business is now looking at these aspects also. Why? Because there are even norms in Europe and all that which specify the BRSR, where the companies in India must follow certain norms before which their products can be exported. So that is probably a way by which the money bags can start looking at the problem with more interest.
So, GM, I'm going to disagree with you slightly. I generally don't, but yes. So, we at Earth Day Network believe that education should begin from the first day a child goes to school. Unless you have education at that level and you inspire them to be literate, they are not going to be stewards for the environment from a young age. In my time, I was told just study and nothing else to bother you. But today days are different. If we are going to protect our earth from going all polluted, from going bald with no trees in it, if we are going to have our waters filled with plastic instead of fish, children have to start learning about it right from the beginning and know that they have to protect their future. Nobody else can do it for them. So, I'm sorry, I disagree with you.
No, I never said that they are not important. I said the influencers. So business is a major influencer. I didn't say at all that the children are not.
So,
I didn't even talk about that.
So,
There's no question of.
This is a great healthy disagreement.
No, but there's
so
didn't even make a statement to that effect.
I agree with both of them.
thank you.
I was only talking about one particular aspect.
So I have my colleague here also, Ajay, there he is, and I have my other colleagues. If anybody wants any material for children, we'll be happy to give it to you free. We have worked with the Delhi Municipal Corporation and designed a special toolkit for them for implementation in schools in the Delhi Municipal Corporation. If anybody would like that to be taken to other municipal corporations, we'd be happy to do it for you, because we really think that a beginning has to be made from the day the child goes to school.
Thank you so much. Monica, would you like to add to that? Yeah, you're most welcome to. We'll just open this up for questions from the audience. But before that, a quick kind of observation on the livelihoods, on rural to urban mobility and migration of people. There are some interesting things that have happened that kind of go the other way. One was the completely unexpected disruption of pandemic, and some interesting work by civil society organizations supported by the government. One which I am particularly aware of was again in which Bangla Natok had a hand. So West Bengal government has set up 17 rural craft hubs. I incidentally happened to visit Chorida, which is for Chou dance community. And it is really stunning. Those of you who haven't been to Chorida, and it's a very beautiful part of Bengal. I mean, I went to school in Purulia district when I was a kid, and I cannot believe the change. I mean, when I went to school, Purulia was West Bengal's poorest district, extremely drought prone, and it has really transformed a lot. I mean, the tourism is absolutely booming, and I can see Polash flowering out there. You will struggle to get a room in a hotel or a resort in Purulia right now when the Polash blooms. So, but beyond that, Chorida is in the foothills of Ayodhya. It is a village that's entirely dedicated to making crafts around Chou dance. There are about 170 odd families and households. Before this particular initiative came into being with Bangla Natok and West Bengal government, there were less than 20 craftspeople left working on that. Because of the kind of focus on intangible heritage, on Cho and among other folk art forms, there's been a lot more interest in Cho. They are getting a lot more sort of performance calls, etc. During the pandemic, many of the men folk who had migrated to other cities were forced to come back. And then I think from then on, most of them have not gone back. And every household now is involved in making, involved in that particular dance form in some way or other. And I was quite stunned to see how they are organized in layers, so that the main street that passes through the village, it's a bit like Pipli now. So the main street are fronted by shops that sell artifacts that visitors would buy. I mean, those are masks, and not all of them are Cho masks. They're making other kinds of masks as well. But if you proceed a little bit interior into the village, you'll see the other parts of the performance, you know, the kind of, you know, there are many accoutrements and things that are needed to dance. So those things are not something that, you know, city-bred dwellers visiting would buy as artifacts for their fancy homes. So it's really, you know, I felt that it was a wonderful case study. Wall art, yeah, all of it. I mean, and Pipli has been leading on it for a long time, but applic work. So it was, I thought of Pipli when I yes, yeah, it's very similar to that. But let's have some questions and comments from the audience. Yes, please. Is there a microphone? Could you please share your name and the question? We'll take 2 or 3 questions together and then get the panel to respond.
Hi everyone, I'm Sauraveshwar, and I really thank the SwitchON Foundation team for organizing the event. So I come from a background of being a social sector climate action career coach. I've worked with Ajay for years now. And I'm also closely associated with the Tata Institute of Social Sciences for various of their programs, especially when it comes to the project management part. Just a little observation and also a question to the esteemed panel. We really need to find a mechanism we can retain talent back in Bengal. Really lucky that Monica, Karuna, Ajay, GM Kapoor, Debanjan Chakraborty, and many of you esteemed innovators who are part of this discussion are here in Calcutta, but there is definitely a much greater requirement. Little observation, when the youth is migrating to a Bangalore, Delhi, Bombay, and NCR, we are also finding a stronger concentration of, say, CSR and foundation level work happening there. From TISS, we do struggle sometimes nowadays to even get a capstone project done in Bengal. Cities and Governance program that's Hyderabad's been offering for last 2-3 years. We have never been able to do a capstone project in Bengal yet, but now that I've got an opportunity to connect with so many of you, I would really look forward to find a way in which we can get these collaborations through, so that talent from the other parts of Bengal or the country who may not have even stayed in Bengal can also be interested in studying and identifying some of the problem statements that you mentioned in this discussion. So if the panel is open for any suggestion or any points on that note, I'll be really obliged. Thank you so much.
Right. Thank you, Shabir. There's a question at the back of the room.
Thank you so much. I mean, very, very pertinent points and issues we have talked today. So not really question, but few things. I mean, it's a time to walk the talk. So how many of us in this room, I mean, we use sanitary napkins, which is not biodegradable, use, what is it called for children, Huggies and all, how much they are polluting. So we are still on with the AC in a very nice spring evening. So those are some questions for ourselves, for myself as well. And regarding Sundarban and all, with my experience, I can talk for hours. And some of the points I really agree. I think we can later on take this discussion on those. But No, one more thing. I mean, someone talked about in Kolkata, the air is like taking 23 smokes a day. I'm thinking about the child perspective. A child who is born cannot speak, but smoking the same amount of cigarette with the mess we adults are doing every day. So, I mean, we need to think about the perspective of child, youth, I mean, senior citizens. And there is so much to think, talk, and as I said, walk the talk. It's very important that whatever we are saying, we are implementing that in our day to day life. Individual of us can actually bring the change. Thank you so much.
One question here, and then I'll come back to the panel for responses to those comments and questions.
My name is Mohammad Alamgir, and I represent NGOs in city. I've been working for the last 3-4 decades with the slums people, states, and squatter colonies. So my experience is that how the slum is growing now with illegal high-rise, with poor sanitation and water facilities, how it is affecting and contributing to the polluted environment. Number two, poverty is a serious pollutant. So far, I understand. Number two. Number three, somebody said from German, I don't remember the name, the city, Calcutta city has become a universal toilet. Or if somebody remembers or not this statement, it came in the newspaper because of the roadside population and squatter populations. They use open space for the privy and all that. So when we talk about the cultural heritage, so whom we are representing? The marginalized population, the children of slum people, slums, the children of roadside population, or not. So this has to be cleared. Always national priorities, state priorities has gone for the defense of the middle class society. There was a debate some time ago in World Bank supported project that public health is a major priority. Rather, rag pickers are not the least priority who collect their waste for their livelihood. Even you remember the containerization of solid waste was of that direction that nobody can touch the garbage. In Dhapa, there was a program from World Bank, elective fencing of this garbage where it is dumped. Even biomedical waste and solid waste, all are mixed waste, you know. Still we are struggling for source separation and solid waste, scientific solid waste management, recycling, and the role of rag pickers in all this. So considering all this, how much, who are most deprived section of the society, so far the cultural heritage is. Culture, if you talk about the culture in the slums, if you go and visit in the slum, what is happening? Right to play for the children has been totally denied.
So very, very pertinent points, and I think the panelists would like to respond. Yes.
Regarding air pollution.
Yeah, but please try to put a question to the panel if possible.
Sorry, I am from Kolkata Cycle Samaj, Lugujana. So regarding air pollution, concerning most, so here is discouraging the cycling, here is cycle ban in Calcutta city. So how can address this problem to the administration?
This is a really great question. Yeah, Monica. I mean, please take your picks.
Regarding the point which Alamgir Saab made, at least we as Intac have tried to address part of this problem in the urban regeneration of the Tiratti Bazaar area. We have given proposals to the government, and unfortunately we cannot do it ourselves. So low-cost housing where the tenements are, to remove those and put up these low-cost housing. We have provided the designs, we have provided the, whatever best we could as far as that is concerned.
That is possible.
That is possible, but the government must agree. They have not taken it. So it's not that we don't realize what you're saying. We do realize that it is also for the lower classes. I mean, lower in terms of maybe money, not otherwise. But
Did not agree, but promoter has taken the advantage of promoting this illegally. That is the bad side of the story.
that is,
There was a scheme for housing, cross subsidy, and poor people can be provided housing.
I will jump in here because I think we are deviating a little bit
Yeah.
from the topic of.
No, what my point was
culture.
that
Yeah.
we are trying to regenerate, do some urban regeneration with taking care of that aspect also. This is what I was trying to explain to him.
There were other questions too, but a very important point about whose culture are we talking about? Whose culture and heritage? I mean, if you're living in the
No,
slum,
very
I mean,
correct. That is very correct. It has to be addressed. That's what we were trying to do.
I was just going to say that pandemic has been very useful in drawing people back to Calcutta. They have realized that life in Calcutta, if you compare it to a lot of the other metros, is far more pleasant, easier to live, and you can accomplish a lot of your work here. So even if they don't move back for the complete year, a lot of people I know of are moving back to Calcutta thanks to the pandemic.
there's some data there.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of value in what she said, and also you mentioned earlier about the pandemic. But there's also something that I discussed with our Honorable Mayor, Mr. Firhad Hakim, some time ago, that I told him that maybe Bengal is not the place to now build up like a big industrial center or something like that. But what I feel is that over here, education is somehow very important. And it can, why don't we look at building it up as a skill development, as a hub for education of skill, skill center. Because we do have enormous talent, which GM Kapoor mentioned, which you mentioned, and which you also mentioned, that we do have this enormous talent here, and there is a drain to it. I'm not talking, and you also mentioned that there is a certain class that we need to address to. So I think if we look at keeping people occupied within Bengal, let's look at it like not from top down, but like from bottom up. And if we do that development of this educational institutions where skill is imparted, let's say every electrician, every et cetera, skilled person needs to get, gets a degree from here, which is something I learned from China, that carpentry colleges are there. So, it gives you a lot of respect that, okay, I've been to a college, I have a degree. Now, there's one more aspect which I think Alamgir ji addressed. That was that poverty is a pollutant. But I must say that if we look at all the figures in the world, it's not poverty. It's the biggest industries, the richest industries, which are the biggest pollutants in the world. We are nowhere, nothing. It has to be totally seen in the large context that who is the actual pollutant.
Civil work is construction of sheer numbers, oil tankers are the
Oil tankers. Yeah, oil tankers is
like a big country's pollution.
So that is the point which we have been trying to highlight regularly, that rather than pulling a building down, it is better to restore it. I can give you one specific example which we have studied is the currency building, which was to be pulled down by the government. It is owned by the CPWD, and they were wanting to pull it down till we got the order to get it stopped. That building is about 95,000 square feet of space. If it had been pulled down as per the current bylaws of the government of the KMC, they could have constructed a maximum of 100,000 square feet. So for 5,000 square feet additional, they would have pulled down and caused that much more pollution as you're talking about. So which is something which... yes, adaptive reuse of heritage buildings, which people are not, either they are not interested, but this is an aspect which should be definitely looked into. The amount of pollution that is caused by new construction is enormous.
I think the health question was very important that you raised. Children in Calcutta, almost, my own daughter, I mean, right from birth, she had, despite being into sports, she has struggled with respiratory issues. Hardly know of any child in Calcutta who has completely free from respiratory issues. The cycling question is also a very germane one. I think I don't lose any opportunity to talk to any civic policymaker about removing the cycling thing. It's a police restriction rather than Kolkata Municipal Corporation has tried several times. I think Kolkata police doesn't budge for traffic regulation purposes. But interestingly, again, Newtown does have very good cycling tracks, and again, Mr. Sen has done a lot in that domain. I think there was one more question. Yep, one, and you, one after the other, and yeah, and so these with the last few bunch of questions. Yeah, please, yeah.
Thank you. I think there's a very esteemed panel here, and all of you work very closely with the administration here. It is just two thoughts that I had, probably you can carry, is that when we think of Bengal, West Bengal, one of the big things as an intangible heritage is the Durga Puja, and it is such a big economic boost also as a festival. Why don't we also think about how can we use this as an opportunity to create more awareness for sustainability? How can we integrate sustainability more into this festival and also increase? And I think when we think about other festivals across the world, this is the world's largest street art festival, and it is not marketed as a world festival. I think there's a very big opportunity here to create economic activity around it and take strengths which is of Bengal forward. I personally believe there should be a dedicated ministry in the state of West Bengal for festivals, and I believe that because there's an opportunity there. And second quick point is that someone mentioned about slums. I think slums should be studied as a model of sustainable living, because the amount of resource crunch that they live in and the way they live in, if we just improve the quality of their lives, I'm not against removing of slums. We should be improving the slums, and we should be looking at how can we make their lives more efficient. The quality of life should be improved. Thank you.
There are a couple of questions here. Yeah, great point. Yeah.
Hi, good
You
evening.
and there's someone behind you too. Yeah, just be aware.
Madhumita, and I'm from the interior architecture as well as the textile manufacturing, hand-woven textiles. So we met the other day, sir. Right, so here is a thread that I would want to continue from what GM sir said. Sir, this construction and restoration of spaces that you were talking about, it is of more than 10,000 square feet. What about if we look at from a bottoms-up approach about the houses that are being torn down? Like I live in Salt Lake, and within a 1 kilometer radius, there are at least 5 houses that are being torn down. And the kind of pollution that we have been facing for the last 3 years, I mean, it's horrendous. I tried calling up the air pollution department or whatever. They are nonchalant about it. They say that I need to call the police department, which I'm sure is not going to get me anyway. So what is the solution for this? I would want to know from you. Or it's an open question from anybody for that matter. Thank you.
There's one behind you, and there's the gentleman behind.
Myself, Ruth Chattopadhyay. I deal in food sector. So we are talking about air pollution as well as pollution of heritage. So one thing that the urban community, we as urban community, is highly dependent upon, is becoming dependent upon, is the home delivery of food as well as food stuff maybe, and through Swiggy and Zomato, and we are being made used to a very fast delivery within 5 minutes or so. So that is definitely causing huge amount of climate air pollution. I mean, it's causing air pollution, as well as we are losing our heritage. In terms of food, we are losing our heritage. We are more accustomed to we are getting more accustomed to having what is available on these platforms. So it's an open question again, that how should and how many of us really try not to try to avoid these services, which apparently seem to be very easy going, and preserve our own heritage in terms of food.
Yeah, there's one more question, and we'll come back to to the panel.
Hello. Thank you, SwitchON, for making me a part of this beautiful discussion. So one of my question has already been raised by Ruth ma'am. As far as this urbanization is concerned, so my first question is, there is a contradiction. Like in cities, as the new generation are moving towards the organized cities, like towards Newtown and everything, and they are very much, what I should say, they prefer cycling for health benefits and everything. But from morning 3 a.m. to 7:30 or 8 a.m., the person who are daily using the cycles, that is their need. Now, what I have seen, they are not very keen to obey the traffic rules because of the single factor: if you are not accepting us, we won't accept your rules. So there is a contradiction. And what we have seen, the cycle campaigns and everything, that are mostly taking care of the people who are those educated team. So I have seen a very little in rural areas, the campaigns which are promoting cycling as a part to save air pollution. There are a number of events and activities being organized by local clubs. I have never seen Environment Day being celebrated in any clubs. Can it be done, or any fund could be given to them to promote these kind of things? And second question has already been raised by Ruth Madam, that the person who is promoting, supporting air pollution, everything, removing air pollution and everything, but that person is, when he is taking orders through Swiggy and everything, he is in a way promoting that that pollution and that part. So how this could be resolved?
I'd like to answer this young lady about the construction of, or destruction rather, of houses and reconstruction. You know, it's a very difficult situation where a personal house, if somebody is pulling it down, you cannot stop that because there's no law that can stop it. You can definitely ensure that it is barricaded. No, but that is what you can ensure. That the police can take action, that they have put certain, the cover the thing. That is what can be done, I mean, to the best extent possible. Beyond that, you cannot stop somebody from breaking his own request. Yes. Yeah. No, but that I think Monica should be able to answer that. There is a law.
Yeah, there's a rule to take care of that. I'd like to answer this home delivery question. Very interesting. So it's Women's Day tomorrow. Women are expected to cook at home, free. But this is not going to continue forever. It requires time and energy. This is going to become an industry. And I think we are seeing the first steps right now where home deliveries are happening. And we should be happy about it. And not all of them are polluting. Many of them use the cycle because they use a certain radius for delivery. As and when these delivery places increase, this will get better. And I think we should encourage them. Now, one more question was that this cycling routes which are planned are for educated. But we must also understand, appreciate that our Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee has given a cycle to every girl in the village. And today, every one of them has a way of going to their work of education, to their place of education. So it's not that things are not happening. Yeah, in Calcutta city, of course, it is, there are restrictions.
I think you should continue to pressurize Kolkata police in particular to remove that. But that is also an important point. I mean, cyclists don't obey traffic rules.
One point that is regarding that food, the home delivery.
Yeah.
It's a very good idea. We are giving employment to the ladies, those who can cook and serve us. Okay, cook and serve us. But the thing is that it's always coming in a plastic container. If the container can be changed, if the container can be changed, because we have been, I am here for last 2 years almost. Every day I get food from outside. Every day. But the plastic, I feel I don't keep plastic in my freeze. I don't want to. But when I get the food from outside, it's always a plastic container.
You know, there are regulations against it, but people don't follow it. I think this is a job of journalists to highlight it, because they are able to get more attention than we as individuals might be able to get. I just wanted to address the Durga Puja thing which my colleague Ajay has raised. I think it is fantastic that UNESCO has given us that tag, given Durga Puja that tag. It has got a lot of mileage out of it, and we will continue to do it. As we saw last year, the Pollution Control Board banned all the flexes and said that they would take them back and make use of them in other ways. So it has begun. As Earth Day Network, about 10 years ago, we had something that we called Choto Choke Boro Pujo, where we took children to be judges of how green Durga Puja was. And we were not able to get the amount of mileage that the UNESCO tag is getting. So thank you to UNESCO for giving it, and I'm sure we will get much more mileage out of it.
No, the Durga Puja thing, and I don't want to address it because then it will be another 2 days of me just talking. So, but it is a very, very important point, and it demonstrates number of things. But the British Council research also highlights some serious sustainability gaps in current Durga Puja practices, particularly around, of course, use of the hoardings, flexes, but also biodegradable, the practices in terms of materials used. But what is not often seen is that the illumination technology that's used is very dated, and a lot of improvement can happen. I mean, it consumes far more electricity than it needs to, simply because the technology is so dated. And whenever we try to talk about it, we say, oh, Chandanagar artists are doing such a fantastic job. They are doing, but they really need to update their technology. So I think, could we end with, we are running out of time. I mean, we have been 20 minutes over time. I generally don't. So just a sentence or two to sum up, beginning with you, GM.
Well, it's been a very interesting discussion, and while we are all aware that air pollution as well as climate change are also interconnected and they are causing havoc in our lives, but how much do we care actually? Maybe we are sitting here, we are more aware than others, but how much do we care and how much action do we take to reduce it in our lives? If everybody started reducing in a small way, probably it would add up considerably.
So I would just say that everyone has to do an act of green. Even if you repair your leaky tap, that is going to make a big difference. So don't wait for big things to happen, start with the small ones.
Yeah, I think that was a great sentence. This small is beautiful. I was educated under E.F. Schumacher, who wrote that famous book, Small is Beautiful. So I think that's the best sentence to, end this discussion with.
Thank you so much. Thank you to the audience. Thank you to my Indian panelists. Over to you.
Thank you for touching so many aspects of, air pollution, the issues, the crisis, the contemporary issues rather, as citizens that we are facing. We have touched and discussed about in every topic that is possible here. We are coming to the end of the program, and I would request my colleague, Ms. Ranjita Bhattacharya, to give the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Rituvi. So, on behalf of SwitchON Foundation, I stand here before with a heart full of gratitude and a sense of fulfillment. It's my honor to extend a warm and heartfelt vote of thanks to all of you who have made today's event a resounding success. I would like to express our deepest appreciation to our keynote speaker, Mrs. Barbara Walsh, our speakers and panelists, Dr. Shivaji Bhattacharya, Dr. Dipanjan Chakrabarti, Mr. G.M. Kapoor, Ms. Karuna Singh, and Ms. Monica Khosla Bhargava for gracing us with their presence and for sharing their insights and wisdom with us. Your presence has added immense value to our event, and thank you for that. A special word of thanks to Victoria Memorial Hall for co-hosting today's event with us and coming together in this important discussion for our city, Kolkata. A sincere thanks to Mr. Shomarendra Kumar, Secretary and Curator, VMH, for this beautiful collaboration. A special thanks to Mr. Ratanjit Banerjee from the Education Unit and Ms. Shilpi Sharkar from the Education Unit for this immense support for co-organizing the event and for ensuring that the event runs extremely smooth. Furthermore, I would like to thank my team members who have worked tirelessly for the past few months to make this event happen. Last but certainly not the least, I express my heartfelt thanks to each and everyone who has come today, our esteemed guests, our delegates, to be present here today, to engage in this very, very critical and important discussion for our city and our state of West Bengal. As we reflect on the success of this event, let us also remember the importance of preserving and celebrating our culture while striving to protect and nurture our environment. Once again, thank you so much. However, this is not the end. I think there's a lot more discussions that we could do in the future, but this is also the beginning of our celebration, Move for Earth symposium coming together to inspire climate action, which starts from tomorrow, 8th and 9th at Science City, Kolkata. Our inaugural is scheduled for tomorrow, 8th of March, which also happens to be the International Women's Day. And our theme for the program is thus Women and Climate Change. We all would like you to come together for this collaborative strategy for addressing the pressing environmental challenges of Kolkata and West Bengal and jointly crafting solutions through expert insights and workshops. Move for Earth Symposium will be spread over 2 days. There will be series of roundtable discussions, hands-on interesting workshops, panel discussions, sustainable exhibition, and a buyer-seller meet. We look forward to seeing all of you there in coming together in this celebration for our city and our state. Have a wonderful evening, and thank you so much. We have tea and light refreshments arranged outside. I'll encourage everyone to step outside from the store and grab their refreshment packets and tea. I'll encourage, it won't be possible for anyone to eat inside the hall, so I'll encourage everyone to step outside, and in case you want to hang around and chat, we can do that for a while. Thank you so much.